Welcome to Modern Business, the show that bridges the gap between viewer and entrepreneur. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and today we are joined by Caitlin McLennan, owner and operator of the Green Tree Frog, an eco store and refillery, and Bob Cajun serving the Kawartha Lakes. Welcome to the show, Caitlin.
Hi, Taylor.
So, in your own words, what exactly is the Green Tree Frog?
So we are an eco store and refillery. We offer Canadian-made, eco-friendly, and refillable products for bath, body, and home. So we offer products that people can bring their own containers and refill. Anything from cleaning product to shampoo to toothpaste and beyond.
And I have to ask, why the name Green Tree Frog?
So when I sat down and I tried to come up with a name, I wanted something that encompassed the store. And so right away I was thinking of like short, quick names that would be like easy to rhyme off. But I wanted something that kind of linked the store to me as well and made it really personal. So green, like when we think eco and we think earth friendly,
Sure.
Green is often,
The color.
yeah, associated with that. So that was kind of the meaning for green. It's also my favorite color, so it was kind of like, okay, green.
Win-win.
Yeah, and then, but I didn't know what to associate that with. I didn't want it to just be like green, like, right? That's
Sure.
kind of a silly name for a store. So I thought of instantly frogs. So frogs are often in places of like cleanliness. Tree frogs are often like in like the Amazon, like where it's clean and fresh. And so I thought the two would kind of go hand in hand, the green tree frog. So that's kind of where that came from.
Okay, so you just kind of made a plan, put it together,
Yeah,
and
it
went
just-
with it?
Yeah, it just kind of pieced together. And when I was little,
Sure.
my grandparents had a cottage. And so I would always hunt for tree frogs at the cottage. And with kind of one of the reasons why I decided to start my business, being my grandma, it was kind of important to incorporate that too. So that was like a sentimental piece of it.
Let's talk about why you decided to start your business. What drew you to opening an eco store and refillery?
So kind of a lot of different things went into this idea, if you will.
Sure.
Growing up, my grandma owned a store in Fenland Falls, a flower shop, and my mom was a teacher, so every time we'd have a PA day, she'd have the same PA day. She couldn't always be home with us.
Right.
And same with if we were sick, like you can always take a sick day, so we'd go up and spend the day with our grandma at her flower shop, and her store was kind of it was a store, but it was more than that to the community. People would come in, they'd bring a coffee, they'd sit and chat with her. New business owners would come and ask for advice and like her kind of tips and tricks for business. She was on a lot of committees for improving the town. So people would come in and talk to her about improving Fenland and making it better for the people that live there, but the tourists that come up in the summer as well. So growing up, I really looked up to her and I thought, she was an awesome
Person.
a grandma, but business owner as well, right?
Amazing.
And just an all-around woman. But then growing up, I kind of got into like, well, maybe I want to do this or do that. And I ended up going to school to be a paramedic. So not at all business related.
Yeah.
But then back in 2020, I was talking to my now husband, but we were engaged at the time, and we were just kind of chatting, and I said, I'd love to own my own business one day. And he said, well, what would you do? And over the couple years prior to that, I had been switching all my products to natural products at home. So my shampoo, my conditioner, lotions, laundry soap, pretty much everything I had transitioned over. I had a lot of skin issues, dry skin, eczema, all that kind of stuff. And when I switched over, I noticed a huge improvement in my own life. So for me, I thought that that would be something that, because it changed in my life, that was something that I was kind of interested in dabbling in for a business. And then owning my own home, I thought, hey, I'm doing so good with recycling. Like I throw all my plastic in the recycling and I'm a good recycling girl, you know?
Right.
But then my husband's dad sent me an article about recycling, and it was talking about how most of the plastic we put in our bin doesn't actually get recycled. a small percentage gets recycled here, and then whatever we don't use here, it gets sent overseas, and they use it for what they can. A lot of the times they'll make it into carpet, like for their country or whatever.
Okay.
And if they can't use it, it gets sent to a landfill wherever we've sent our recycling to. And so I was like, that's really sad. And it often ends up in oceans. And then our like sea turtles and whales and dolphins, right? They're ingesting it and it's affecting our marine life. So I kind of just started thinking, what if I could piece all of it together? Like following my grandma's footsteps, natural product, and refilling. And that's kind of how all the pieces came together for the store.
That's amazing. So kind of merging all your passions into one and chasing the dream, if you will. And jumping from being a paramedic and actively working as a paramedic to being a business owner of an eco store, you know, what was that transition like? Are you still working as a paramedic? Are you taking business courses on the side? What are you doing?
Yeah, so at first it was online, the store, because we were just getting started. We thought that's how we would start, just launch our website. We had a storefront we were working on. We were just fixing it up. It needed some love, if you will.
Okay.
So we were working on that behind the scenes, but we launched our website first. So a lot of the sales were either being shipped or dropped off locally. So I just did that in the beginning. And then there was a bit of a rocky patch with the landlord selling the location. So in the meantime, we went right back to online. So for most of the beginning infancy stage of our business, it was online, which made it easy while working shift work because I could ship the stuff or drop off the stuff in between shifts. So then in August of 2021, we opened our brick and mortar store.
Okay.
And I actually ended up having a foot injury that September. So I was off work with my injury. So I was able to go to the store but keep my foot up. So that was kind of how that worked. And now I'm on maternity leave. So it's kind of just been one thing after another. But that's how the two have ended up jiving right now.
Sounds like it was kind of meant to be for you then.
A little bit, I guess. Everything just kind of happened, and I stressed a lot about how am I going to do this with shifts and trying to have a brick and mortar store open, and then yeah, just one thing led to another, and I was able to be there for the store when it first opened. And then you asked about business classes, and I actually did a business class / starter program through the city of Kawartha Lakes.
Okay.
So it's called Start a Company Plus. And I applied, got in, and what it is, it's like a fast track kind of, they teach you the starting up of a business. So like how to do social media, accounting, bookkeeping, all that kind of intro stuff to business. And then they have guest speakers come in and speak to you about all that stuff as well.
That's a great way to kind of get exposure before you start.
Yeah, so I had my online going a little bit and then did this, but it still definitely helped with the groundwork. And then the teacher for the program, you're partnered with her for the next 6 months.
Okay.
And so you meet with her once a month to talk about like your business plan and what's working, what might not be working, if you have any questions or struggles, if you will. Yeah, and you can talk to her. And she's still, like, even after that you can, but
mentor, if you will.
Yeah, so it gives you kind of the stepping stones into your business.
That is fantastic, and what a wonderful program through Kawartha Lakes.
Yeah, it was great.
So take us back to the decision to open the first brick and mortar store after having success with your online sales. What was that process like? What happened? Why are you in a new location?
Yeah, so for a lot of our customers, it was a little bit confusing when we were in Fenland and then Bobcaygeon. So at the beginning, I was kind of torn between which town I wanted to open in. Fenland held like a very sentimental place for me because that's where my grandma had her store. So for me, that was a factor of why I wanted Fenland. But Bob Cajun, there's nothing like my store in Bob Cajun. It was something new for that town and that community. And we live locally to Bob Cajun, so it was closer for us,
Right.
for me. But I found a spot in Fenland, and that's where we thought we would start. So we got it in November of 2020. The former tenants had to vacate because of COVID. They weren't able to continue going financially. So when we took over, there was a lot of things that need to be done.
Okay.
Some paint, flooring. There was a lot of garbage, unfortunately, like moldy foods, like open, gross, stale food, like just stuff that we had to tidy up. So we spent a couple months doing that, organizing, getting it ready to welcome customers in. And a couple days before our grand opening, the landlords called and said, "We've sold the building, you have 2 weeks to get out." So we went ahead with our grand opening because we had posted about it and there was a lot of hype about it. So we did that. We had a great outcome. It was a crazy snowy day, but the community really came and was there and supportive of us, which was really nice as a new business. When you're nervous and you're like, oh, not sure
Are
if this
people
is
going to like me?
yeah, right? Is this going to succeed? Is this a bust? Kind of, you
Right.
know what I mean? There's always risks, and so it was great. But then, yeah, we had to close the doors there, and we retreated to online. And at that point, a lot of COVID measures were coming back into place. So we were kind of like, okay, let's rest on this. We'll stay online for now. We'll wait. And then in June of 2021, a spot on the main street of Bob Cajun was opening. The gentleman that had his store there, he was moving to a bigger spot. So I approached him and I said, hey, I'd really like this location. Like, it's a cute small store. It's right on the main street, which is great for a new business with the exposure, right, of foot traffic. So he got me in touch with his landlords, and it took a bit because they were very nervous of a new business post-COVID.
Right, of course.
Right. And then eventually they said, you know what? We love the idea of your store. We love that you're a young woman going into business. We'd love to help support this and offer this location for you. So we got the space August 1st, and we opened our doors officially August 28th.
I love that. Quick opening for the second one.
Yeah, well, we wanted to capitalize on some of the summer, and
Right.
the town is very touristy. We get a lot of cottagers, a lot of visitors in the summer, so we didn't want to completely miss out on that.
Sure. Well, that all sounds incredible. When we come back, we are going to talk about the products in your store and what you carry and why you carry it. We will be right back with Caitlin from the Green Tree Frog. Welcome back to Modern Business, a show that bridges the gap between viewer and entrepreneur. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and we are here with Caitlin McLennan of the Green Tree Frog, an eco store and refillery located in Bob Cajun and serving the Kawartha Lakes. Welcome back, Caitlin. So we started the show talking about the inception of your business, how you got to the stage of having your own storefront in Bob Cajun. Let's talk a little bit about what is in your store. How do you know which products to carry, if they're clean and eco-friendly, and all that jazz?
Yeah, so there's a lot of research and education on my part as the store owner that goes into what products I will have on the shelf. And a lot of it is talking to the brands or the maker, because a lot of the stuff, like I said earlier, we carry is Canadian made, and I try and source everything as locally to Kawartha Lakes as possible. So Durham region, Peterborough, some stuff's from like Burlington, Hamilton area, but trying to speak to the maker themselves about what they put into their product. And always, if there's an ingredient I'm not sure about, I always Google it,
Okay.
search it, and look up what possible side effects. So one, for example, is like fragrance is in a lot of stuff, and that's a very loose term. So a lot of companies will stamp fragrance on their product, and this could be anything from like an essential oil making it a fragrance to a list of like 100 different chemicals. So with a lot of the stuff I carry, it doesn't say fragrance or like perfume.
Okay.
It will list exactly what ingredients are in it, and a lot of the stuff is like shea butter, coconut oil, lavender oil. Like it'll list exactly what the product, like what the ingredient is. Whereas a lot of like if I can't pronounce it, it's probably not good for you.
Right.
So a lot of it was just education, a lot of trial and error of like what I had used at home. And odds are if I don't trust it for my house and my baby, I'm not going to put it on the shelf of the store.
And would you say that your inventory is primarily wholesale, or are you renting shelves in your store to local makers to showcase their products?
Yeah, so initially we started out with strictly wholesale when we were starting out. A lot of the brands that we carried, especially for the refill, it's wholesale. We've recently started bridging into allowing makers to put their product in the store, and we've been doing like a commission. So for them, they're just starting out. There's a big cost up front for them too, right, to start making their product. So it allows them to have exposure and get their product out there and get their name out there with a little bit of an incentive for us, right, to have it in there. And it's a benefit to us as well, because then we're not buying a bunch of product up front and having it sit and it may or may not sell. So it kind of helps each other out.
And what do you say to people that may wander into your store, look at products, look at the refillery side and go, I just feel that Canadian-made, eco-friendly products are too expensive for my home?
We get that a lot. So there is sometimes a bigger price tag attached to buying natural, buying eco-friendly. Even starting refill, there can be like a hefty price tag that people look at it and go, that's not for me. But I always tell people it can be as cost efficient or costly as you want it to be.
Right.
So if people want like a very pretty looking refill and they want the pretty glass bottles with the pretty lids and the pretty labels, it's going to be more expensive. But if you just bring your Tide container in and you refill it with laundry soap, it's going to be very similar cost-wise for you as if you just go to these big box stores and purchase your product.
And I would assume the aesthetic investment, if you will, the pretty glass bottles and all that stuff, that's maybe a heavier upfront cost, but long term, if you're refilling the same thing and only purchasing exactly what you use, costs balance out?
Exactly. So if you want that aesthetic, you're going to pay that initial price for that bottle or that container. But then every time you fill, you're only paying for the contents of the jar. So how we operate is you bring your container, whether it be the purchased one or your Tide container, and we weigh it, you fill it, and then we weigh it again. So if you're bringing your own container or you're bringing your purchased one back, you're only paying for what you're filling.
And for me, just thinking personally, I would feel a little self-conscious walking into a refillery with a Tide container to say, hey, can you give me the good stuff? But is that common? Do people use their own recyclable materials for this?
Yes, they do. And the thing with plastic is it lives for a long time. So a lot of people do look at me funny when I say, bring your Tide container in or bring your Dawn container in and we'll fill it for you. And they go, you want plastic in here? But when you're reusing it, you're keeping it out of that recycle bin where it may or may not end up in a landfill or in our ocean. And like I said, it lives forever. So you can keep using it and keep using it over and over.
So it's almost encouraged to use
Absolutely.
those items rather than the aesthetic, but aesthetic is always welcome. So talk to us a little bit about how you market your business. How are you getting people through the door to learn exactly how your processes work?
Yeah, so This has been a bit of a learning curve because initially I was social media all the way, and it was like Instagram, Facebook, and our website was a big thing that I invested a lot of time into designing. I did the whole thing myself, which as a paramedic, I don't have a tech background, I don't have a digital background
Sure.
and doing all that stuff. But that was a big thing for me, was when people open that web page, what does it say about the store? What does it tell them about what we do? So I took a lot of time designing that, laying it out, how I wanted it to flow, and then posting a lot on Instagram and Facebook. Where we have a very large variety of a demographic.
Okay.
So we have a lot of elderly, a lot of senior people. We have a lot of young people, especially because of COVID, with people working online. A lot of people, younger couples, younger individuals, moved from Toronto, Whitby, GTA, up to cottage country.
Okay.
So not all of our customers and our client base are going to be on Instagram or
Right.
that kind of. So we do a lot of Facebook as well. There's a community group, Bob Cajun Community. I post a lot in there about what we do if we have like sales on or special promos on. I post in there a lot. But we're also looking at how to market differently to those different people, because a lot of that generation aren't necessarily on social media. Some of them might not even have a computer. So we're looking at different avenues for how to market to that clientele, maybe radio, TV, billboards, newspaper, like just those
More
different,
traditional.
yeah, that they like to have their cup of coffee in the morning with their newspaper, and they might see an ad for what our store is. So we're looking at different marketing strategies in the future.
And I guess that would be kind of a sign of your growth and how you have different types of people coming in, learning about the store, learning about Canadian-made eco-friendly products and why they should have them in their home. So on the topic of growth and kind of moving forward in the future, where do you see your business going in the next 5 years? Do you have a plan or an idea of where you'll be?
Yeah, we hope that it'll continue to grow. We are currently working on expanding the refill. I call it the refill bar.
Cute.
But we're expanding it currently. We have a couple new products. We're dabbling into, I'll say, food products. So we're going to have refill coffee.
Nice.
Yeah, so people can bring a mason jar or like a paper bag and refill their coffee beans. We have refillable maple syrup. We're looking at some different products that help people eliminate that waste in the home and add different options for our customers and for our store to make it unique to us as well.
So it sounds like you're kind of expanding outside of just cleaning materials, if you will. So with that in mind, what are some of the top selling products in your store? What are people after in your industry?
Yeah, so a lot of our customers we sell a stain stick. It's from Bunch of Farmers, which is in Stouffville.
Okay.
And it is probably our #1 seller in this store. We can't keep it on the shelf. And we use it at home, and that's one of the reasons it's on the shelf. And I tell people that. I'm like, I'm not here to steal your money.
Sure.
What we have on the shelf is stuff that we've used at home, that we love, that we just want to share. We're like, try this. Like,
Amazing.
this is awesome. So the stain stick, it's a solid stick. I should have brought one. But you wet the stain on the clothing or whatever's on the clothes, and so you wet the stain stick, you rub the stain stick on the clothes, and you put it right in the wash.
Amazing.
And it has got out, like, we have an infant at home. There's blowouts.
Sure.
He's starting solids, so there's blueberry and sweet potato and carrot. Like, there's tons of stuff on the outfits. We're constantly, like, my husband, he's working with cars and this and that. He loves to, like, tinker. So, like, he gets oil, and the only thing we haven't been able to get out was deck stain. But
Okay.
everything else, like, we've got out using this stick. So that's why it is a #1 seller on our shelf. The other thing that we've noticed is wool dryer balls.
Okay.
So these are used in place of like a bounce sheet that you toss in the dryer. So they're made of wool. They're a ball.
Sure.
You toss them in the dryer. They're unscented, so a lot of people like that because what I've been noticing with our customers and people that come in our store is they want unscented. A lot of people are sensitive to overbearing smells, floral smells, whatever. So this gives them the option that it's unscented, it's not transferring onto the clothing. So with bounce sheets, there's a lot of ingredients in them. And I never realized this, I never used them, but I didn't realize until I started doing some digging that they have a lot of ingredients in them that can cause skin irritations. If you have asthma, it can kind of
Right.
cause your asthma.
And I don't want to stop you over on a roll, but I do want to make sure we get our trade tip in. So
Absolutely.
before we wrap up the show, do you have a trade tip for our audience today, a piece of advice that you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, so my advice is that I don't think you're ever going to feel ready to start a business. You're always going to have doubts and is the risk worth the benefit? But if it's something you're passionate about and it's something you feel you want to go for it, jump in, do it. And with that, be authentically you in your business and let yourself shine through because it is your business and it's like, I feel like it's a piece of you. Like my husband always jokes, it's my second baby.
Right.
Because so much time and research and love goes into your business for it to grow. So let yourself shine through your business.
Absolutely. Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. This has been another edition of Modern Business. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and we'll be back next time.